Hi, I'm Joe, and this is the Decahedron RPG Podcast.
Hi everyone, this is Joe. This is another one of my weekends away for my part-time job. I sat down like 5 minutes ago to start recording this, and just at that moment, Canada launched an attack on us. Yeah, okay, that's a bit of an exaggeration. What happens is here in Niagara Falls, on the weekends at least, around 8 o'clock, the Canadian side of the falls has fireworks. And I didn't notice the time, and I sat down, and just as I pressed the record button, the fireworks started, so I had to stop so that noise would be done. That's where I am. So there's no James, of course. When I'm traveling, there is no James. And so this is a JOLO episode, and we are going to get started. This week, we have an email from Heathyr that I'm going to respond to, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about one of my pet peeves. So yeah, let's get started. Heathyr, in her email, says, I know that some artists are suing AI art generators because they're using their art. So I was wondering if someone created an RPG with AI, if that would be the same thing. Okay, Heathyr, there's a little bit to unpack there. Yes, some artists are suing the creators of some AI art generators because they feel that their art was used to train the AI, and they feel that perhaps elements of their artwork are being recreated one for one inside the art. But whether or not that has merit, we're not going to discuss, because your question is whether or not someone created an RPG, and by that I'm assuming that you mean RPG rules, if that would be the same thing. Well, first of all, let me give disclaimers. I am not a lawyer. I am an engineer. Do not take law advice from an engineer. This is just how I understand things. Having said all that, it's not quite the same thing, because in U.S. copyright law, we recognize that art is a copyrightable thing. If you draw a picture of a mountain, you can copyright that picture of a mountain, and no one can copy that exact picture of a mountain, although maybe they can make their own picture of a similar mountain. Maybe. But RPGs are different. Rules are different. Rules games are not copyrightable because a game is a process, and processes are covered not under copyright, but under patents. And so you would have to get a patent on your game instead of a copyright, because patents cover processes. You do this, and then you do this, and then you do that. You determine an armor class, you roll a die, you compare the die to the armor class. That's a sequence of events that you follow. It's a process. So that is not copyrightable. However, the expression of those rules can be copyrightable, especially if you use, a certain tone, if you use humor or whatever, your expression is copyrightable. So if you are going to try to recreate a game, you really need to rewrite it from scratch using your own words and trying your darndest not to duplicate the style and the wording of the original creator. So if an AI were to use the same words, that would be an issue. If, on the other hand, the AI just created the same sequence of steps to follow, that would not be a copyright violation. Again, as I understand things, I am not a lawyer. I am an engineer. Period. Okay, so that's that one. And so the second thing I'm going to talk about is just a silly little pet peeve of mine. And to start that, I'm going to read this that I wrote earlier. As I sit at this address, I am recording this to go on record and address a subject that has been subjecting my ears to abuse when I hear people abuse the pronunciation of a certain word. So what word is the object of my objection? Listen, and I will present you with my thoughts as a present to you, my listener. That was a series of using the same word as both a subject and a verb. For example, I said address and address. So address is the noun and address is the verb. I address you, and address, I live at this address. Subject and subject. Again, subject is the verb. Nope, sorry. Subject is the noun. Subject is the verb. I subject you on this subject. Abuse, abuse, object and object. present, and present. They're all examples of when in English we have the same word spelled the same, but it's pronounced different depending on its use. And a couple of years ago, on somebody's gaming YouTube video, I don't remember who it was, it's not that important, I heard for the very first time them using a very common word that we use in gaming, but they pronounced it wrong. They were using it as a subject, as a noun, but they were pronouncing it as a verb. And I was like, wow, that's weird. And that really kind of irritated me a little bit because I get that way sometimes. And I was like, that's weird. I've never heard that before. And then all of a sudden, it seemed like everywhere I was listening on YouTube and on a podcast, people were doing the same thing. They were taking this noun and they were pronouncing it as a verb. So what is the word you're asking? Okay, I'll stop teasing. The word is attribute. So as a noun, it's attribute. The accent is on the first syllable where you put it for a noun. As a verb, you say attribute. I attribute this article to its original author. I attribute that comment to that person over there. But your character has attributes. He is strong. He is fast. He is whatever. I don't expect anyone to change because of me. I don't think you are bad and evil persons. I just wanted to get this off my chest and say, in English, when we're using a word as a noun, we put the accent on the first syllable. And when we're using it as a verb, we put the accent on the second syllable. So noun is subject, noun is attribute, verb is subject, verb is attribute. That's all I have to say on that. I hope you didn't take offense. You should notice I was smiling and laughing as I was saying this. That's all I have to say. And again, nice short episode. This is the way the podcast was intended to be. So I am signing off now. I hope you all have a great week. I wish you happy gaming if you're gaming. If you're not gaming, I wish you happy reading about gaming or listening about gaming or however you get your gaming fix when you're not able to game. Thanks again for listening. Bye. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Decahedron RPG Cast. We'd love to hear from you. You can leave us a voice message by calling 562-774-2278. That's 562-RPG-CAST. Or by visiting sayhi.chat/Decahedron. You can also email us at feedback@decahedron.com. Links are in the show notes. For more information, visit decahedron.com. Remember that Decahedron is spelled with a K. Music is by Kevin MacLeod. Logos by Design Cat. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, keep those dice rolling.